The grand courtroom was packed, journalists scribbling frantically as cameras flashed. The air was thick with tension. Across the polished wooden floor, Karoline Leavitt sat at the defense table, her gaze locked on the smug face of Senator Richard Langley. A once respected politician, he was now at the center of a major corruption scandal. But instead of owning up to his crimes, he had done something far worse. He tried to pin them on Karoline. She had spent years exposing fraud, fighting for justice, and standing up against the most powerful elites. But now, they had turned the tables, twisting the truth, falsifying documents, and feeding the media with lies. The prosecution smirked, presenting fabricated evidence, trying to paint Karoline as the mastermind of an elaborate bribery scheme. Ms. Leavitt, the prosecutor said smoothly, "You claim to fight for justice, yet here we are. How does it feel to finally be on the other side?" Murmurs spread across the courtroom. But Karoline didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned forward, a slight smirk forming. "You're asking the wrong question," she said, her voice steady. "The real question is, how long will it take before the truth comes crashing down on you?" The prosecutor faltered, but before he could respond, Karoline placed a thick folder on the table. "Because the truth, Your Honor, is sitting right here." The judge frowned, signaling for her to continue. And as Karoline opened the file, the entire case was about to take a turn no one saw coming. "Ladies and gentlemen," Karoline began, flipping through the documents, "let me introduce you to a little thing called real evidence." She walked toward the judge and handed over a file, one filled with bank statements, recorded calls, and signed agreements that exposed not only Senator Langley's guilt, but also the people helping him behind the scenes. The judge's expression darkened as he skimmed the documents. "Where did you obtain these?" he asked. Karoline turned her gaze to Langley. "I have my ways. But the real question is, why were these never brought up by the prosecution?" The room fell silent. The prosecutor shifted uncomfortably. "This is irrelevant," he snapped. "Ms. Leavitt is the one on trial here." Karoline let out a small chuckle. "Am I? Or are we finally seeing who's really been pulling the strings?" She turned to the jury. "You were told that I orchestrated this scandal, that I accepted bribes. But tell me, why would I sign fake deals under my name, when I have spent years exposing people like him?" She pointed at Langley. "The truth is, I was getting too close. I uncovered his schemes. I was about to reveal everything. And that's when he made his move." The tension in the room shifted. The jury members were now listening intently. The judge rubbed his temples, looking at the prosecutor. "Is this true?" The prosecutor hesitated, but before he could answer, Karoline delivered the final blow. "Your Honor, I would like to introduce a key witness. Someone who was forced to lie under oath, until now." The courtroom doors creaked open, and everyone turned to see a trembling man step inside. The color drained from Senator Langley's face. He knew exactly who it was. The man was Langley's former aide, Thomas Grayson. He walked to the witness stand, avoiding the senator's glare. "Mr. Grayson," fabricate evidence against Ms. Leavitt. He threatened my family if I didn't comply." Gasps erupted from the courtroom. Karoline stayed calm, though inside, she knew this was the moment everything changed. "And what else?" she pressed. "He paid off investigators to alter financial records," Thomas continued. "He even had my team plant fake documents in Ms. Leavitt's office." The judge's expression was unreadable, but his grip on his gavel tightened. The prosecution was visibly panicked now. "Your Honor, this is ridiculous," the prosecutor protested. "There is no proof that, actually, there is," Karoline interrupted. She handed the judge another set of files. "These are the original records. The ones that were altered to make me look guilty." The judge examined the papers, his face growing darker by the second. He turned to Langley. "Do you have anything to say for yourself, Senator?" Langley clenched his jaw, his hands tightening into fists. But before he could speak, Karoline delivered the final, undeniable piece of evidence. She pulled out a recording device and hit play. Langley's own voice filled the courtroom, detailing his entire plan. The room erupted into chaos. Reporters scrambled to take notes, cameras clicked rapidly, and Langley's face turned a deep shade of red. The recording was undeniable, it was his voice, admitting everything. The judge slammed his gavel, calling for silence. "Enough," he said. "This court has seen overwhelming evidence that Ms. Leavitt was framed. Therefore, all charges against her are immediately dropped." Cheers broke out in the courtroom, but the judge wasn't done. He turned his gaze to Langley. "And as for you, Senator, you are now under investigation for conspiracy, witness tampering, and obstruction of justice." Langley shot up from his seat. "This is a setup," he bellowed. "This woman is a liar." Sit down," the judge ordered, his voice firm. Langley hesitated, then slumped back into his chair, his defeat sinking in. Karoline turned to Thomas, who still looked shaken. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did the right thing," she assured him. He nodded, relief washing over his face. As the courtroom emptied, reporters swarmed Karoline, asking how she had managed to take down one of the most powerful politicians in the country. She simply smiled. "The truth always finds a way," she said. But deep down, she knew this was just the beginning. There were more battles to fight, more corrupt figures waiting to be exposed. The next morning, the headlines were everywhere. Karoline Leavitt exposes corrupt senator. Langley's downfall, how one woman took on the system and won. News channels replayed the courtroom footage, dissecting every word. Langley's political career was in ruins. His allies abandoned him, his supporters turned against him, and he now faced a long legal battle of his own. But Karoline? She was already moving forward. As she walked into her office, another file sat waiting on her desk, another case, another injustice that needed to be fought. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The people she exposed would fight back. They would try to silence her. But Karoline Leavitt had made one thing clear, she wasn't afraid, As she prepared for her next case, she turned on the camera and addressed her supporters. "Justice is a fight worth having. And I'm not done yet. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more powerful stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, ***.